Rounds 19 and 20 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship for 2011. We're at Suzuka in Japan. The test track built for Honda back in the 1960s by the great Dutch designer John Hugenholtz. It's been the scene of many epic Japanese Formula One Grand Prix. This weekend it will be for the first time hosting the World Touring Car Championship. No Denga curves, no spoon, no 130R. We're on the shorter East Circuit, 2.2 brief kilometres and 23 laps. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Just after 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Japanese time, this is the view from Suzuka, ready for round 19 of the World Touring Car Championship. Slightly more overcast than this morning, the clouds rolling in, but the track is a lot drier as the cars sit on the grid in warm and sunny conditions. And of course, although we've stopped seeing many of the images on our TV screens in the rest of the world, it is still very much uppermost in Japanese minds what happened during the earthquakes, the tsunamis earlier in the spring here in Japan, and there's still a massive struggle to rebuild and recuperate from all of that. And not just the tyre manufacturer Yokohama here, but we've got Japanese drivers on the grid. An awful lot of ties in the motorsport world with Japan, and coming here to Suzuka perhaps never more readily evident. Well, with the cars on the grid, our World Championship points leader, it's the first time we've said this since Brazil, is not Ivan Muller, it's not Rob Huff rather, it is Ivan Muller, car number 1, the reigning champion, is the man on top of the pile in the points. We've got 3 race weekends still to go. We've got 3 drivers in the hunt for the Drivers' Championship, and at the moment it is Muller, Huff and M&u in that order who lead the standings, but it will be Ivan Muller who starts on the outside of the front row of the grid, the better placed of our 2 main contenders. Rob Huff will start in 4th place behind him. The man who's on pole though is M&u, and he continues Chevrolet's run of pole positions. They have not been beaten to a pole yet this year. Well, here we are, cars are on the grid. I'm Martin Haven, sitting alongside me, the newly crowned triple British Touring Car Championship winner, Matt Neal. Matt, good afternoon, and ready for, hopefully, a bit of a mouth-watering feast here at Suzuka. The long circuit's always produced great Grand Prix drama. Whether it's produced great races or not is a little bit of a moot point, but this short circuit could be really quite frantic.
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be no respite. We've obviously got the start-finish straight, which has got a bit of length to it, but I would imagine we're going to see a fair bit of drafting down there. But once they enter turn 1, there is absolutely no respite for these guys until they exit turn 8 back onto the start-finish straight. And as importantly, no respite for the tyres. You know, the front-wheel drives are going to cane their front tyres, absolutely cane them. So we could see the BMWs coming into play later on. But also, you know, if they do not get the setup right on their cars, that back-end section of the circuit is going to be a long time, and it's going to be a long race for them. So it's going to be interesting to see how we got. Plus, the ambience now gone up from how they've been running all weekend. We've got some pieces of blue sky shining through.
Yeah.
The sun's coming out, and it's been overcast and a bit horrible all weekend. So this is going to sort of raise the game, and it's going to change the balance of the cars and how they're all working.
You can really see, can't you? I mean, look, this was qualifying yesterday, dull and grey overhead, and the track temperature has gone up from the 20s for the first time all year. You know, it's now nearly 40 degrees of track temperature. M&u putting a great lap together yesterday to claim pole position, and he was very happy with that. Incidentally, Chevrolet confirming a week or 10 days ago now, I'm sure most of you have probably caught up with this, that they will retain their driver lineup for next year. So no matter what happens, whoever ends up of these 3 as world champion, and one of them will have to end up as world champion now. They can't be caught by anybody else. Whether it's M&u, Muller or Huff, doesn't matter. Chevrolet will carry the number 1 into next season, because they will take M&u, Muller and Huff together again as their driver lineup.
Look at those times, Martin. I mean, they are heinously close. That's 7/100ths of a second covering the first 4.
Well,
700.
One of the old chestnuts I've been trotting out for years is that, you know, there are 15 potential winners in this field. There are 10 potential, you know, pole position men in any qualifying at least. It is incredibly difficult. Even to get into the points in these races, you have really got to be on your game. And qualifying now with the new rules they've got is so important, because if you're outside the top 10 in qualifying one, you are outside the top 10 for the rest of the weekend, and that makes it very demanding indeed. Well, this is the car that starts just outside the top 10. Javi Villa. Now, we talked after qualifying, didn't we, Matt, when we spotted it? He was 0.05 of a second slower, 0.05 of a second slower than Darrell O'Young, who was 10th in Q1. So if he'd been 0.06 quicker, I mean, that really is literally the blink of an eye. He would have been on pole for race 2 instead of 11th for race 2 and race 1.
Yeah,
I mean, that is how close it is in qualifying.
When we're talking these hundredths of a second, you know, we're talking sort of 90 mile an hour average speed around here. I was trying to work it out, what that 500ths was, and it's literally inches, or, you know. So, I mean, and it's going to affect his whole weekend, because instead of starting on pole and having a crack at Q2, he's... I'll be quiet now.
Well, a moment of tribute from the World Touring Car Championship, from its drivers, from the teams, from the championship, and from our partners, just to remember those who lost their lives and those who are still struggling in the aftermath of the devastating tsunamis earlier this year in Japan. Japanese national anthem being played by military band, and of course the Japanese flag out there on the grid as well. And Japan is a country that is very much enamored of motorsport, Matt Neal. They really get it. You know, they're enormous Formula One fans, but they've got a massive motorsporting scene at home. Of course, you know, we see the tip of the iceberg, the Japanese GTs, Formula Nippon, you know, the Japanese F3 Championship. Lots of young single-seater drivers will go to Japan to ply their trade. But Yukinori Taniguchi, for instance, a games designer who's racing in the Bamboo engineering car, I was talking to him a while ago about how he got into racing, and he got in the local Japanese scene, you know, racing his own road car, doing track days and so on. And, you know, Japan is very European in its motorsporting infrastructure. Lots of tracks, lots of different racing championships. So this is kind of a home from home. People here understand what it is the World Touring Car Championship is doing, whereas when we go to Guangdong in China in a few weeks' time, that's going to be very different. It's something that they've not got a real understanding of yet, is motor racing.
Yeah, I'm sorry about talking into that tribute. It wasn't actually on our schedule, and caught me a bit unawares there. Especially so because you know, Suzuka circuit being owned by Honda, and Honda as a company have been, along with the other car manufacturers and other companies, been doing a massive amount to help the rebuild of industry and society in general. But yeah, just going back to what you were saying, as a society, the Japanese society, they seem to be going more and more the smaller car route, the eco-friendly route. You know, they are leaders in the world in pushing in that direction. Lucky four-leaf clover, man of my own heart.
Tom Coronel.
But in their motorsport side, they're still into the big cars, which is fantastic. You know, they're very passionate about their motorsport. You know, and throughout, it's especially with the rivalry with Honda, Toyota, Nissan, Mazda. I mean, it's great competition to see.
Well, and that's only the car side of it. Of course, if you look at the two-wheel side of it, the motorbike side of it, you know, really with the exception of Ducati and BMW in MotoGP or World Superbikes, it is predominantly a Japanese-based sport. You know, you've got the Hondas, the Suzukis, the Yamahas, the Kawasaki's, really for decades have been so strong on using motor racing to make their engineers better, to make their product better, to make their profile better. And they're really, you know, you think of a brand like Subaru. Look what Motorsport did for Subaru. It turned them from quirky, odd, what's this four-wheel drive thing, farmers' cars, you know, real utilitarian pickups and so on, into, you know, the Subaru Impreza, which is sort of the embodiment of raughty, snorty road car technology. And, you know, Nissan with the Skyline and Honda with the Civic Type Rs and the Integras before that. And, you know, for years and years and years, the Japanese have been very big on performance. You know, the whole drifting culture, the whole, you know, hot hatchback tuning culture of Japanese cars was exported from Japan to America and everywhere else. You know, they have put so much into motorsport. And even here, you know, Suzuka, first time the World Touring Car Championship's been here, and they're in all the grandstands, there are loads and loads of fans. All right, it's not a Grand Prix crowd. We're not expecting 110,000 people. You know, that audience takes time to build, but really gratifying to see how many people have come out to see all these foreigners coming and racing.
Yeah, especially when, because there's, I mean, there's going to be also awful lot on the box this weekend with MotoGPs on the box, and they'll have probably Gold Coast 600 from Australia, which is a similar sort of time zone for them, and yeah, there's going to be an awful lot of competition, but yeah, it's good to see the strength and depth this weekend. Absolutely.
Well, here's our pole man, currently lies third in the championship, M&u. 10 poles in his World Touring Car career, 15 wins, and the Chevy drivers are fast climbing right to the top of the all-time winners ranks, led by Ivan Muller now with 20 World Touring Car victories in his career.
Another one.
Well, blue skies overhead. I'm not quite sure how to read the big pile of clouds over to the west of the circuit. And Ivan Muller could do without that flapping around. Yes, he's already decided that his little drinks hose, he's either going to pull it off and let it fill up the floor, or plug it into his helmet, or whatever it is he was supposed to have done with it on the grid. Here he's our championship leader. Here is Rob Huff, wearing the black ribbon on his helmet and on the car, in memory of Dan Weldon, who so tragically lost his life in the Las Vegas Motor Speedway accident last weekend. Robert Dahlgren lining up third, and Dahlgren, it's going to be interesting, isn't it, if we assume that tyre wear is going to be a big factor. Interesting to see how the Volvo balances against those Chevys in terms of what uses its tyres better or worse, or how that works out. But already we are back to the cutout, so we are getting ready for 23 laps. Highest number of laps of the year, because it's the shortest track of the season. M&u on pole position. He's the car on the left-hand side with the predominantly red roof for the Swiss colours, and then Muller on the outside on the right-hand side. Don't forget, they've got to come straight through those grid markings. Line up, boys. Norbert Michaelis, they're all like swans in echelon. Are they going? I don't think they are. I think this is a wave by. It is. No,
we're away.
They get the green. Well, now that's going to leave M&u and Muller both crawling as everybody behind picks up speed quicker down into the first corners, and Dahlgren's off already, and that's a hard chip into the barriers, and that may have been Turkington from behind, got into the back of him. Couple of cars making contact. Oriola is off, and so too is Montero. This is going to be a red flag, I think. Exactly. Very big damage for Thiago Montero. Muller's got through past M&u. Huff's third, Nukia fourth, Paulson fifth, and the two Bamboo Engineering cars sixth and seventh. Coronel is creeping back. Two Bamboo Engineering cars still sixth and seventh. Off has got one of the Pro Team BMWs, and Taniguchi on the outside has got by Colin Turkington.
Well, that's going to be, if it's not a safety car,
it is a safety car. Yeah. No, safety car will be out. This will be a lot of sweeping up, though. No point bringing them down through the pit lane, because they'll get to the debris anyway. So safety car is out already.
Well,
I think Bruno might have been expecting this.
You can't say you didn't tell him, did you, Martin?
But what can you do, you know? We all know drivers haven't got an ounce of sense between their ears, don't they?
I resemble that remark.
Well, let's see. Where does Dahlgren get fired off? It is across the nose of Tiago Montero. No, it's not Montero's car. It was a yellow car with a red roof. I think that might have been Nukia, yeah. Well, Nukia was...
It's almost like Dahlgren tried to close the door when he got his nose.
Coronel gets sideways. Tarquini was off there as well. Montero comes back through. Centre punches Villa.
Oh man, that's just a mess.
Carnage, absolutely. And it's the problem with turn 1 into 2. Oof. Dahlgren did get tangled up with Coronel as well. Yike! That right front corner is going to need a lot of polishing. Coronel's out of the race. Ah, dear, oh dear. Dahlgren is out. We have lost quite a few cars. Well, now, this is not one of those race weekends. Villa's ready to go back out with a new tyre on.
Villa's had a good punch in the side as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was properly centre punched, wasn't he? This is not one of those race weekends where we've got 2 hours between the races with several other support races. That's it. Coronel's done. That's it. Japanese weekend is over for him. It's over for Dahlgren in the Volvo as well.
Ah, that's bad news for Coronel. I mean, with his local knowledge and his, you know, really hoping he was going to go well here, especially with the tyres and the BM and everything.
Thiago Montero, that's his weekend wrecked as well. And of course the other thing is they're not just going to be able to load them onto the trucks and drive home to base and have a week to repair them. They're going to be in the paddock tonight and tomorrow, the mechanics, repairing the cars so they can go back into the containers and then get shipped to China.
Someone else has just pulled off there at the end of the pit lane. That's a mess as well, isn't it?
Unfortunately, in the first lap carnage, our timing screens also died, so that's not helping us wildly.
Who hit that? It wasn't me.
No, it just didn't come on. So let's try another option.
Here we go. We got the start again now.
Okay, and again,
I think Dahlgren tries to close the door on Nukia.
Dahlgren's inside Coronel. They are side by side.
Yeah,
and then Dahlgren gets squeezed by Huff into Coronel. He gets pushed around the nose of Coronel's car. Yeah. Coronel gets turned sideways by another blue car from behind.
It was just kicking off everywhere, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Right, so another missing one, 88, Hiroki Yoshimoto. He's out as well, I'm afraid. So, I mean, there's just an awful lot of carnage out there. And again, they've got these little tracked car, rescue vehicles, haven't they, for the gravel traps. So they're very experienced in rescuing all these things.
They just need to get that Volvo back as quick as they can, see if they can do anything with it.
But, you know, I'm really afraid.
Doesn't look very pretty, though.
No. I think it's going to be like Tom's car. I think they've just had the front corner off it, and it's.
Unfortunately, this just comes back to exactly what we were saying before: is Volvo's all their eggs are in one basket with Dahlgren, and it's with the racing so close. It's just such a shame because we want the Volvo. It seems to be one of the few cars that can take the fight to the Chevys at the moment.
Well, and again, we lost another one, didn't we, in Coronel? We were hoping that he, with a BMW, with knowledge of the track, with slightly better tyre wear and so on, might have a chance of really challenging for BMW against the might of Chevrolet and Seat. But, I mean, the upside of this is, of course, if they get it fixed, he won't have to start race 2 from the back of the grid as long as they can put it into Parc Ferme after race 1.
They need to get it finished before the end of race 1,
which,
it's going to be tight. But
and where is he on the race 2 grid? Second on the race 2 grid.
Yeah.
I mean, there might be some redemption in this. If they can somehow get a right front corner on that car and it'll steer, he can still start on the front row of race 2 grid.
They can't test it. That's the problem. That it's going to be.
Well, if they get it fixed in time to get out at the end of this race, don't forget how much longer this race is going to last now. Not just the other 2 laps that we've added on. It's now a 25-lap race, not a 23-lap race. But these laps are taking a minute and a half.
Yeah.
Instead of 50 seconds. So, it's almost twice as long, the opening 4 or 5 laps. We should be 10 laps in by now.
Yeah, they've got to watch, they've got to keep the temperature in the tyres, but also the brakes as well, because they're going to arrive at turn 1 and 2 very, very quickly. And it's
safety car comes up as car 601 on our timing screen. I've just spotted that, not seen that before. The safety car has a transponder.
He's running in 19th place.
And you think that, yeah, well, that's because he started a lap behind. You think the Germans were the most efficient, but no, I've never yet seen a safety car come up on the timing screen. But there he is. What was his lap time? It doesn't give him a lap time or sector times.
Now, just going back to the championship, Martin, this is exactly what Muller wanted and needs.
Of course.
To have, because Menu's been a quicker car all weekend. If Muller drives a tight line and keeps it, keeps it clean around here, then he's got a buffer between him and Huffy, which is it's points in the bag and extends that small gap he's got. So
yeah, and of course, Ravan, the longer the safety car stays out, the better, because it's less laps than that Huff can attack Muller, can attack Menu, and then get by Menu hopefully and get up to Muller. So, for Muller this is great. For Huff this is the worst possible thing. Not only did he not get in front of Muller at the start, but Muller actually managed to get past Menu, the pole man, in all the kerfuffle, and so Rob is 2 teammates away from the lead. Well, Tom Coronel's in the pit lane with Louise.
Back in the garage after that mess that was the start, Tom Coronel, we can take a look at the pictures. If you see here, we'll rerun it and let us know what happened.
To be honest, I didn't know what happened. I had a superb start. Took Dahlgren from the inside. I was running for, my opinion, P3. You can see I'm completely on the inside, no difficulties. Dahlgren got spun by somebody. And then who hit me? To me, it seems like a Chevy. So the third Chevy was hitting me on the back, and then I ran a little bit wide and I touched together with Gabriella, and that was the mess. So I don't know who's the third Chevy. It seems like Huff hit me.
Yeah, Huff was the closest to you, but it's so hard to tell, isn't it? You limped back here. Do you think the car is possible to get back?
Well, of course, race 2 is quite important for me because...
So green we go then with 7 of our laps. We're on lap 7 of 25 now. Muller leads from Menu and Huff. And in 4th place, Michel Nukia with Christian Poulsen, his fellow Dane, in 5th, the best of the BMWs. 6th position is Yukinori Taniguchi. So Yuke is the best of the Bamboo Engineering Chevys. He's just in front of Colin Turkington now. Mistakenly on the opening lap, I thought because he'd qualified better, that was Daryl O'Young. But in fact, Taniguchi is in 6th
getting
position.
wide through there. Meny's might get a run on him.
And for Huff, he'll be going, go on, Alan, get up the inside there. But Muller manages to get the door shut. Do you know, you can almost run as wide as you like there. If you're not on the grass, there's just no way to get through. It is a one-line racetrack.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, the inter-team politics now here with Chevrolet, because Menu has had the edge on speed all weekend. So it's whether they're going to... around the outside. Well, yeah. He's let him go.
Huffy is going...
Did he just get a run on him?
Oh, and Menu goes in too fast and almost parks it on the outside. And Huff was up behind Menu there down the straight going, I'm going to draft you by. Even if that means that Huff's not in the lead, it at least means that Muller's not in the lead. He's taken points away from his rival, and now he's right behind Muller. Now he can attack Muller and doesn't have to try and attack Menu to get to Muller. And Ivan is all over the place.
Yeah, his car just seems loose, but now Huffy can get his teeth into the back of him, and
there's Thiago and Tom discussing who hit whom. It did seem like Huffy got into the back of Coronel. I mean, he won't have fired him off, but there was such a massive bunch of cars there jockeying for position. Huff did not get a good start, did he? He really got boxed in. Down the straight, can Huff make a move on Muller? In the background, Dudicalo defending against O'Young. Dudicalo is 8th, O'Young 9th. And again, little puff of smoke there from Muller as he gets on the brakes in 1 and a big puff in 2. And actually, think back to Porto, when Muller, right from the start, seemed to have problems with his car. It turned out in the end they had a problem with the diff settings, and they tried to change it. There's Toshi Arai coming back on. He was in 16th, but
his car's just loose.
Yeah.
Now the only thing is, I would say, Martin, is
oh, big hold from Arai.
Well held, but Muller does like a loose car.
Yeah.
That was well. You could see See the slippy surface out there.
You can see the rally experience there, can't
Right, Muller does like a loose car, and also you don't know how they've gone with the setup, because they are expecting excessive front tyre wear. So if he's set his car up for the second half of the race, it will be very loose in the first half. So we might see him come back into play and be much stronger in the second half. It could be a bit of that case.
And having said, of course, that nobody can run away here, M&u is running away. So we'll wait and see. I mean, they've still got 15 laps to go. That's a lot of corners. Pepe Oriola's going to park it for some reason, not sure which. Hiroki Yoshimoto already in the pit lane. And there's Yukinori Taniguchi ahead of Colin Turkington. And maybe Turks is going to keep piling on the pressure in that BMW and see if he can't. Oh, and out goes Muller, and has he lost it completely? Was that a spin?
Oh, yes.
And through goes Michel Nukia. Well, I tell you what, everybody else's fronts had better start going off, because Muller has comprehensively got the setup wrong on that car in some way, shape or form. This is a monster. I mean, look at M&u's having a slide. And Muller's keeping his hoof in it to try and keep the front going the way he wants. That's the only way to get out of trouble in your front-wheel drive car, is to keep the front driving you through the corner, and it'll drag eventually the rear wheels back into line. But that was salvation for Huff, and Nukia slipped by as well. So that means Muller's got to get by somebody else to get back to Huff.
This is great to see, isn't it? I mean, everyone in a little bit of distress, and we're not even at mid-distance yet, so it's only going to get better as the race goes on.
Well, this is interesting, isn't it? You come up this sweeping uphill left-hander, and then you have to pitch it right over the brow into the first bit of the cutaway, and just by that tyre stack, that's where everything's all going loose and floaty, and where all the slides are coming from. I mean, M&u, when was the last time you ever saw Alain M&u slide a front-wheel drive touring car? Yeah,
I'll tell you what the next thing is, Martin, is Paulson's going to be in the back of Muller. He's going to be, he's definitely on the radar for him.
Here comes Mehdi Benani, who went off in qualifying and essentially qualified all but last. Benani was on row 10 of the grid. He was 19th. He's just passed Duda Carlo, and so too has Mikulits. And so they are now both in the top 10.
Poor old Coronel's going to be ruining the day when he got tangled at the first corner.
Golden opportunity. And of course, he knows about this track, so he will have known, oh yes, golden opportunity for the BMWs. The Roal team would have been so looking forward to this. Pro Team BMW guys may not have been quite so aware as Tom was, and he will have made the Roal team aware of what the nature of the track is. But at the moment, M&u still lapping quickly, 54.9 to a 55.1 of Huff and a 55.2 of Nukia. All right, Nukia's speed is governed, as you can see the yellow BMW there of Turkington's is, by the speed of the car in front. But M&u is still quicker than anyone else on the track by some margin.
Yeah, M&u's making hay while the sun shines. He's just trying to build that gap, so if the tyres do become an issue, he can just control it at his own pace later on in the race.
And the other thing is that he's just, he's not been attacked, he's not having to defend. It's all about keeping
Look at that.
His car
We've got Taniguchi in 6th place here. This is his best run of the year period, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, this is a track that he knows well, because he's raced here in all sorts of different things, from basically street-based cars. His first car was an old 10-year-old Honda Civic, ex-Japanese touring car. So it would have been, one of the 1600 front-wheel drive cars. So he knows this track well. For the first time all year, he's got to somewhere where he knows the nuances of it. He knows where you can pass, how to defend. When he turns in for the first time coming out of the pit lane into corner 1, he knows exactly where he's going. He doesn't have to spend his whole weekend learning, trying to catch up with what everybody else knows. First time he's on a kind of an even keel. So, yeah, really impressive. 6th position. He will be so chuffed if he can hold off. Oh, Turkington goes through in the background.
Go through,
or the foreground, the long, whichever it is. Nukia under pressure from Tarquini. And so Tarquini is coming up the order, but still, Michel Nukia is the best of the Seats in 3rd place. There he is, that yellow car, ahead of Ivan Muller and Christian Poulsen. Turkington now up to 6th, ahead of Taniguchi. Nevertheless, again, Luke will be so pleased with that. to come to Japan. He will undoubtedly have lots of friends and family, and probably, I'm sure, at his games workshop, they've all had the weekend off to have a boys' holiday and come to Suzuka and watch the races.
I thought Michelitz should have gone a lot better round here this weekend.
Well, again, you know, first time here ever for him and the team, and for BMWs.
First time here for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Colin Turkington, who's up there. He's just fighting his way into the top 6 in the Aviva car. So,
that was Gabrielli. Late lunge down the inside. And that worked. I'm not sure that Norbert was expecting that. And did you see how sideways Gabrielli got into the apex there? He really backed it in there. That was the change for 9th. And looking here at Dudicalo versus Engstler. Engstler a long way down the independent order. Nukia's the leading independent. Holson 2nd, Turkington 3rd, Taniguchi 4th, Binani 5th, Michaelis 6th, Dudicalo 7th, Engstler only 8th in the independent trophy points at the moment. So he could do with getting by Dudicalo quickish. Russian colours on Dudicalo's roof, and the Swiss colours on the roof of our race leader, Alain Menu. Rob Huff in 2nd place, not catching Menu at all, is he? In fact, the gap is opening again.
Yeah. Huff he was trying to go with Alain on the times, but every year Alain just pegs him, even if it's by 100th or almost a 10th or whatever. He's just managing to peg him every lap and just inch out that gap.
3rd place, Nukia in the best of the Seats in front of Muller and Poulsen here. And again, Muller trail braking all the way down from 1 into 2. And again, lots and lots of tyre smoke. So you have to think that Muller will be very unimpressed with his car setup. Now, that's not just something he's been handed in the lottery. That's something he has worked on with his engineer, you know, pretty hard all weekend to get a car that does what he wants it to do. Clearly, at the moment, he's in 4th place. It ain't doing what he wants it to do.
Still looks loose, even now.
Yeah, and it looks like it's blunting his pace to have to deal with it. He's not able to rag the car the way he wants to, because basically the rear end is heading off in its own different little direction.
Yeah, he won't be happy as well. I mean, after having grid position, great start, getting into the lead, he's done everything right, and then so Ivan doesn't like to give up opportunities like that, and you know, now to give points back to Huffy in the championship fight, I wouldn't imagine he's going to be a happy bunny at the end of this one.
Well, here comes Tarquini up behind Mehdi Benani. We're on board with the Italian. There is the Moroccan driver's BMW in front, and Benani is the lead pro team car. That is good performance from Benani, from 19th on the grid. He is currently in 8th place ahead of Tarquini, who started in 8th. So Gabrielli, we didn't see, we did, didn't we? He got tangled, he got sideways in the first corner in that Coronel incident. I don't think did he go into the pits? I don't think he did. Oh no, he has. Yeah, no, he did. He stopped at the end of lap 1. He went into the pit, so he must have needed a new tyre. Again, look at this. If you go home now, or if you turn the telly off afterwards, and oh, that's Dudicalo. He's lost it out the final corner. He's pitched it in a little bit too aggressively, and it spat him across the road, and luckily he's spun. You can see the skid marks. He spun back inside as opposed to outside.
It's whether he jumped, whether he's pushing. Muller, there you go, fastest sector one of the race.
Yeah. Well, let's see. Dudicalo. No. He didn't get pushed. He just lost it coming out there, and it spat him off. And that's where who went off there in qualifying in Q1. One of the Seats, didn't it? Anyway, he's chasing them further down. Yes, fastest first sector of the race, a 13.9 compared to a 14.3 of the race leader, is Ivan Muller. So has he got the car set up, as you suspected, to preserve its front tyres by sliding around at the rear? And in fact, when I was saying behind the safety car, it was good news for Muller every lap behind the safety car. In fact, was it bad news for Muller because nobody else's tyres were wearing out either?
Yeah, he's got to get past the people, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And it's through this sector 2 and 3 that he's, you know, there's just no way through, and you just follow the leader. But he's banged in fastest sector of the sector 1 of the race again.
See, if Muller had set his car up to slide so that his front tyres lasted better, he would have been looking to the long game. Don't forget, he was, at worst, would hope to have been in second at the first corner. The problem is we lost 7 laps or 6 laps behind the safety car, which is more than a quarter of the race distance. And so that's 6 laps at the end that everybody's got much fresher tyres for than they were expected to have. So Muller's setup possibly would have come good at that stage, but he now needs another 6 laps for that to work, and at the moment it's just not.
But and also his problem is Paulson's going with him.
Yeah.
You know, Paulson is shadowing him his every move. He's got to be ever so careful if having a go at Nukia, because Paulson will be straight through.
Absolutely right. At the moment he's now going right. Well, in his head is he thinking, unless Nukia makes a catastrophic error and bins it.
He's wide.
Yeah,
Muller's Paulson a run.
Muller can't even stay with Nukia. Oh, now that is really good news. The car is out and moving for Coronel. He can come in and out another couple of times to if he needs things doing, but it's moving. He can make sure that it works. And when you've changed a corner like that, it's things like making sure that the brakes are bled properly, and it's not so much that it's pointing in the right direction, because they'll have tried to set that correctly, but at least he gets a chance to see what else is amiss or otherwise. You know, they might have split a hose that actually the engine never got up to temperature to sort of blow. Yeah. So a couple of laps now, his grid plate will be there on the outside of row 1, whether his car's ready or not. So Coronel might still have a chance to pull an enormous Japanese win, as he did in the rain a couple of years ago. As M&u continues to lead here in Japan, the gap is ever larger. Massive gap now, 3.4 seconds. Menu's been romping away from Rob Huff in second place in the last couple of laps. But the real interest is, what can Ivan Muller do, if anything? Third is the yellow Seat of Michel Nukia, and Muller's not looked like being able to get his nose even alongside that car at any stage. And Muller, with Christian Paulson right beside him, has to mind his P's and Q's. Further back down the field, that is Yoshimoto.
Muller's still the fastest of everybody in that sector 1. He just seems to be on the, whether it's because he's in the middle of a 3-car draft down the start-finish straight.
Yeah,
it's only a 13-14 second run, that sector 1. So,
and of course he's 4 or 5 car lengths behind Nukia, so enough to pick up the slipstream, but not enough that he has to get out of the throttle early on the straight. So yes, you're absolutely right. Now then, as they come down the straight, he is looking a little closer to the yellow Seat, but again, right behind him is Paulson. Close enough. Paulson's close enough at the moment to be thinking about a pass. We're on lap 24 of 25.
Only one little mistake.
There was Coronel. He's in the middle of this pack, and he seems to be holding his speed in front of Taniguchi, who has now got Bernani, Tarquini with the red and white, and then with the orange and black.
Oh, come on, Taniguchi, 7th place. That would be fantastic for him. Absolutely fantastic. Home race as well.
The real problem for you is that Bernardi behind him might have a bit of a last lap lunge, and the BMW probably has got a better tyre balance at the moment than Taniguchi has. I mean, certainly Turkington, who Taniguchi was in front of for half the race, has vanished into the distance. Once he got by the Chevy, he was gone. There is Turkington coming onto the straight right in the background. Coronel pulls out of the way to let them have a go, as onto the last lap goes our race leader. What does M&u know about this place that Huff and Muller haven't been able to understand? Because his car, best lap of 54.5, and his teammates 54.6s.
But where I think is Alain hasn't been off driving other things to get his, he's had his head totally focused into the cruise, and that does pay dividends. You're looking for fractions of a second, and I reckon that gives him the edge. But it's great to see, because he's absolutely on the money at the beginning of the season. For whatever reason, luck or circumstance or whatever, just had a bad run mid-season. It's great to see him coming back now.
Absolutely right, and the checkered flag awaits. It is victory for M&u. That is win number 16 of his World Touring car career. rearrange those words into a sentence. Rob Huff second, Michel Nokia joins them on the podium. He's also our independent category winner. Ivar Muller in 4th place. And again, for us, that closes the championship, because the guy that was 3rd in the points gets most, the guy that was 2nd in the points gets the next most, guy that was leading the points gets less again, so it squeezes up again, the concertina effect. There's John Waterman, he is M&uuml's race engineer, spent a long time engineering successful drivers in GM products, ran John Cleland to a number of British Touring Car Championship wins in Vauxhalls.
So what's that do for the points? If he gets 18,
right,
and 15, 12, 10, so he's pulled 8 back.
The pole position Denmark team very happy. Their boy not only top in the Yokohama Independent Trophy battle, but on the overall podium as well. And don't forget, after, well, he was only in morning warm-up when there was only one Seat in the top 14 cars, and that was Gabriele Tarquino saying, maybe the Seats are really going to struggle here. Well, apparently not. As ever, my confident predictions have turned out to be an utter pile of rubbish. So Michel Nokia comes home in 3rd place. He will be a very happy boy indeed. Let's say again, we need to look at the Yokohama trophy points, don't we? Which again, I have managed not to.
No, I haven't got them either.
Not to find easily.
Slipped my grasp on the way through as well, I'm afraid.
Okay. So M&u wins, Huff 2nd, Muller 4th. And what was the gap coming in? 18, 16 points, 16 points.
Well, I think he's pulled 6 back, so down to 10.
With still 5 races of the championship remaining. That's 20% of the season left to go. And a very happy M&u, very happy Michel Nokia sitting on his car in the background as well. Yes, big smiles all round, I think, on the podium this morning. Well, there is Ron Hartfelt, the head of engineering at RML, chatting with
it looks a bit
Rob
of a
Huff.
tense conversation going on there.
Yeah, well, I wonder if there was questions on the radio. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What the team won't do is try and second-guess the stewards. They won't be asking any drivers, as we saw in Porto, won't be asking drivers to give places back or anything until they see that stewards are investigating incidents. Well, I can see Louise down there, so let's catch up with our race winner.
M&u, all sorts going on behind you, but it looked like a good, clean win for you.
Yes, fantastic. You know, once I got through the lead, you know, with Ivan, we talked about it before the start, and we decided that we would not do anything silly. So I was very cautious into the first corner. So then he gave me the place back as soon as he could, and after that, yeah, I think I was the fastest. So. It was a fairly easy win. I mean, but the Chevrolet was fantastic today. So you know, hat off to my guys and the team, because they gave me a fantastic car.
Thank you.
Well, now, interesting, isn't it? You know, you get the whole field. It was a very late release, and I did worry that the guys behind were going to be coming faster down into the first couple of corners than the guys at the front. And then you get M&u and Muller slower than they might normally be into the first couple of corners to try and sort themselves out. You know, that just adds to the bunching up effect. And it's, you know, we've seen it before where drivers have tried to be cautious, often at restarts, getting on the brakes a little early, bang, somebody gets into the back and gets punted off. It's all right, M&u and Muller agreeing between themselves to be a little bit cautious. Fortunately, there were still 23 lunatics behind them that weren't being cautious quite to the same degree.
It's a difficult situation because obviously they were holding the red light at the start to try and, if they release them too quickly, then they're all going to be going at a hell of a speed by the time they get to turn 1, and knowing turn 1 could be an issue. But holding the red light for so long causes the field to concertina up. You know, you actually said they're all getting out of line because all the drivers are thinking we should be going by now. We're going, and then that bunches the field up more, and so they end up with an even bigger problem down at turn 1. So.
Yeah, very difficult. I mean, again, you know, it is very straightforward, the rule. The driver discipline is very straightforward. You must drive through the grid marks, and yet clearly
which about
only the top 3 or 4 cars were doing that. But you see, everybody else is fanning out a bit of a gap to try and see the lights.
Yeah, that's the problem, because you sit so low down and you're so close to the car in front.
And if you wait for him to go, you lose a 1/10 of a second. You can't afford to lose a 1/10 of a second. Well, the championship then, having a little bit of a shuffle around, some winners, some losers in the first race. The good news for Tom Coronel is that his car did get back out on track, which means he is free now. As long as they don't do anything else other than work on it in the in a 15 minutes working time, he is free to start race 2 from the front row of the grid.
Weren't they Taniguchi's first points of the season?
Taniguchi's first points of the season, 6 points for Yuke. Again, you know, top 6-7 result, really, really good for him. Disaster for Volvo, I'm afraid. If they can work on Dahlgren's car, they might get it back out for race 2, but he'll be relegated to the back of the grid. But, you know, you saw what Coronel's boys did, and again, as we said, the longer that safety car went on, that's 5 or 10 precious minutes of working on the car that they might not have got if it had been a single car off and the race had not been behind safety car. A dramatic first race. I think we are far from done with the dramas here at Suzuka. Oops. Didn't see Yoshimoto going off earlier on in the live, but it is M&uuml who's our race winner.
Richard Lyons winning.
Race win in. Matt is on the iPad checking out what's happening in the Gold Coast 600 as well. Our podium comes out as Michael Nukia really enjoying himself, hearing not so much the fans, but hearing his team down there shouting, the pole position boys. They do work under the SEAT banner, the sun-red banner, but he very much has his own engineers with him. Second for Rob Huff. That's a long way up. You don't want to slip off that podium. You'd get a nosebleed up there. Top step for M&uuml. Win number 16 of the Swiss drivers' World Touring Car career. While waiting for our winning driver's anthem.
They're trying to find the Swiss national anthem, probably. Very quietly.
Yeah, here we go. So the Swiss anthem for our winning driver, M&uuml, and the American anthem for our winning constructor, Chevrolet. Rob Huff joins M&uuml on the podium. And on the right-hand side, Charlie New, who wins the J10 category. Our Yokohama Independent Trophy winner is third overall. Michael Nukia there in the black overalls. And he will get the third place trophy. Now, if I didn't know better, I would say that's some kind of oryx on the top there. Mountain goatee, antelope-y thing.
Looks like a stag.
A stag, yes. No, it's a little bit, yeah, a little bit bigger than just a little mountain goatee antelope-y thing. That is a stag of some description. Second place for Rob Huff.
Unusual trophy from Motorsport.
Yeah. Well, in years gone by, in Group C races and so on, they had big samurai masks and all sorts of, you know, remarkable trophies. Well, that is one that will be a very happy piece of hand baggage for M&uuml. It's been a while since the Swiss has won a race. And, you know, when you get those weekends, Matt, when you are really properly on it, you really want to capitalise. And he is really properly on it.
Well, where is he on the grid for the second one? Because it's going to be interesting to see how he goes on there, because he's got incredible pace in that car this weekend.
He is 7th on the grid for race 2. Muller is 4th, Huff is 3rd, Coronel 2nd. Pole position, Daryl O'Young in the Bamboo Engineering Chevy.
Yeah, and you got Thiago and Montero and Dahlgren right in front of Menu.
I don't think Thiago's going to be out, judging by his reaction.
He's had a rough weekend so far.
The car didn't leave the pit lane, so that means that if they're still working on it, they'll have to take it out of Parc Fermé, chances are, and that may well mean that he'll be relegated to the back of the grid.
Yeah.
Charlie New in his BMW there, taking the J10 trophy victory. And Michel Nukia, Johnny, 2 trophies there, because he gets the one for winning the Yokohama independent category as well.
That's greedy, isn't it?
No, that's good news. That's good news. Gets overall points, gets 2 trophies, gets Yokohama points as well. That's just a big step up there. I mean, you know, all those guys are a bit on the diminutive side. They're not proper height like you and me. But it's almost enough room.
Happy bunch.
They are a happy bunch, aren't they? Always good to see Alain, you know, with a really big smile on his face, because he's not a hard guy to read, is he? You know, he pretty much wears his heart on his sleeve. You know when he's having a good weekend. I mean, at the beginning of the weekend, you know, the big news was how bouncy and smiley and full of the joys of spring Yvan Muller was. I think that might have changed a fraction by now.
Yeah, he won't be. It'll be differing emotions in the Chevrolet garage at the moment, because Menu obviously will be clicking his heels. Huffy will just be pleased he's got one over on Yvan.
Got dug out of the hole that he was in.
He's pulled a little back in when it was looking like it was going to be the other way around.
Yep, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So and Yvan won't like bleeding points to Huffy. So
well, but the good news for all 3 of them is that with all the cars that were being fired off left, right, and centre, again, you know, they were far enough up the front of the grid, and this is why qualifying is so important. They were far enough up the front of the grid that it was happening behind them, not around them, and they all survived the first corners. Well, there is Thiago Montero's car, and that's why he is probably not going to make race 2, because it is only just returned. And to be frank, if all they needed to do was replace a radiator, they ain't got the time. That is going to be repaired for China, not for Japan, I'm afraid. Let's hear from our race winner now.
Alain Menu, with all the focus on your teammates, that's just what you needed to stay in contention for the title.
Yes, I mean, as we know, for the championship, it's a tough call for me. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I can do now is to try to win as many races as possible, and for Rob and Yvan to hit some bad luck, which really I don't wish it on them. But yeah, so as long as I do my best, then I'm pleased.
You said downstairs that Yvan gave you that place back. So was that a pre-arranged decision?
Well, we talked about the start before the race, and we decided not to do anything stupid, you know, into the first corner. And unfortunately, I braked too much. I was too cautious, and that meant that he was then leading. So after that, he did ask on the radio whether he should let me through again, and he had to, because I slowed down too much, basically. So yeah, then it worked very well, because the car was very good, and you know, I could just cruise with my cruise to the end.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yay! He gets a cruise gag in. Now, was he paid? Is that a bet gag? He got the cruise gag in. Yes, 25 points. It's his 3rd win of the season. He last won in Porto, race 1.
Rob Huff, that mistake from Muller has helped you a lot and shaved some valuable points off him.
Yeah, we needed that big time. You know, you can't always have all the luck, and he just made a mistake. It was, you know, unfortunate, but that's racing. We're all pushing to the limit, and he just, I could see on the first couple of laps before the safety car, the first lap, he had a massively oversteery car, was holding Alain up quite a bit, and that allowed me to catch quite a gap on them. But a fantastic race for us, just what we needed. So, yeah, very pleased.
Looking back at that start, there were cars going all over the place, but Coronel obviously got a good start. You were the closest to him. What happened there?
He came up the inside. He was ahead of me, and I don't know who was on the outside of me or on the outside of him, but it's so difficult to see anything like that. I braked a little bit earlier than he did. I turned to the inside to try and get the cut back to get up the inside, possibly into turn 2, and as I did so, he sort of turned across the front of me basically, and I ended up hitting him square in the front wheel. I'm not sure what was happening around us, but we were being hit from every direction, so it's always very, very difficult, especially into a corner like that, but nevertheless very pleased with the result, and yeah, good points for me, so very pleased.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, there was no notification that the stewards were looking at any specific incidents in that first couple of corners of the race. You know, I think there were just too many to actually pin the blame on anybody for any of it. It was just a bit of a complete mess. Here's our third place man.
Michel Nukia, first of all, congratulations on your podium. You must be very happy.
Yeah, I'm very, very happy, and it was a great race for me. I have last year leading some races, but I have some mistakes. And this year I have the luck with me, and P3 overall is fantastic for me in this car. And yeah, I can see also a world champion can make mistakes, so it's not only me. So yeah, that's nice, fantastic result for me.
Talking about that mistake from Müller, what happened from your point of view, and what was going through your mind?
Yeah, after the first lap I was P4, thinking, okay, it's going to be very difficult with the Chevy in the front, but I saw Ivan was sliding a little bit and Hoffer go inside, and I could see I could maybe also try, so I do it, and I go past him very clean. And I think, oh shit, now I have a world champion behind me, but yeah, I could go from him and be in the middle of Rob and Ivan, so yeah, fantastic. I'm very, very happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A very happy boy. Well, we talked about M&uuml wearing his heart on his sleeve, and Michel Nukia very much the same. And of course, predominantly talking about well, the race in Monza, race 2 in Monza. He could have won last year, but for tyre problems. Where was the other one? I forget now. That Podium as well. Well, dramatic first race. What it means for the championship is that our top 2 are 10 points apart. In the Yokohama Independence Trophy, they are now 9 points apart. Christian Poulsen and Norbert Michelis. Talked about Franz Engstler needing to move up the order earlier on. He didn't manage to, so Michel Nukia moves back in front of him by a single point. But goodness me, and bearing in mind that for the Yokohama Trophy contenders, when they get to Macau, which is 75 points away from now, it's double bubble. They score twice the points. There's 50 points for each race in Macau, so you could almost join the championship now as an independent and still have a chance to win.
Yeah, it was a good result for Poulsen, but
familiar face in the garage there, Kamui Kobayashi. As far as I'm aware, has never driven a touring car, but I tell you what,
he's never lived.
I'd like to see him. I would love to see a couple of Grand Prix drivers in a modern front-wheel drive touring cars. And Chevrolet already the manufacturer's champions, but again, Sunred and BMW increasingly looks like that battle is going to be sorted out at Macau and probably not before. And I think our world championship leaders 10 points apart. We have still got 125 points on the table. So although Menu is 67 points behind, it is far from over.